Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first CDK payment settling API InVent. We're really glad you're here. This is a live event, and so as people kind of come in, I'm going to remind you of a few things. Number one, there is a chat box located on the side of the YouTube piece. Feel free to chat with each other. Would love to hear your names, hear where you're from. In addition to that, the comment section at the bottom of this page is where I'd ask you to go ahead and ask any questions that you may have for our panelists. We'll do our best today to try to get as many of these questions answered in the live event, and if we can't, we'll make sure to have those questions answered in the days to come to each one of you individually. I have a lot of people that ask me, what do we mean when we call this an InVent? Well, we've done a lot of live events with Fortellis over the years. Our dev days have been highly successful, and they're a great way to kind of engage and exchange ideas. Today's world obviously is a little different. So we came up with the idea of doing an InVent. An InVent literally is an event that you can visit in home, in office. We hope that as you attend this particular one, you will invent new and exciting ways to do business with your organization through Fortellis. This new way of doing business is exactly what Mark and his team at CDK ePayments Group came up with last year. So I'm going to let Mark go ahead and share that story with you now.
I joined CDK just about a year ago, and I'm the development manager and product owner for our ePayments product. ePayments, when you think about it, is really about enabling integration between the CDK DMS and third-party point-of-sale applications that dealers will use to take payments from customers. A typical use case, we use the term pay now, so the customer's actually in the dealership. They're going to insert and swipe their credit card and take a payment while they're actually physically at the dealership, or an invite to pay, which is where a customer is sent a text message and or an email with a link to a secure website that's provided by the payment processor. The customer can pay online, take care of that end of the business before they actually ever show up in the dealership. The light version is the new piece that we've added that is based on Fortellis. It's an API that we've exposed that allows payments to be taken external to the DMS, but then still have that payment information be reflected back into the DMS. So when you talk about e-payment settling, think about it from a couple of different perspectives. One is, why did we do it? Or why are we doing it? What it does is it really provides dealers more flexibility and choices for customer experience solutions and payment processors. It eliminates the manual entry of payment information into the DMS, and by automating that, it then reduces data entry and keystroke errors. The payment settling API supports both service and parts. Service for repair orders and parts for parts orders. And within each one of those, it supports two different workflows. Working with Fortellis team has been an extremely positive experience. We've had two partners in Update Promise and My Karma that have been tremendous to work with. They're great people, very knowledgeable, tech savvy, and it's just been a real joy in working through the process with them. The feedback that we're getting from dealers has been extremely positive as we move to a more open platform and seamless integration with CDK. Again, it really just offers up more opportunities for ISVs and more flexibility for dealers.
If you're just joining us on this broadcast, that last video was Mark from the Fortellis CDK ePayments team. His team has worked diligently to create this new API that's available today on Fortellis. We're going to come back to Mark and talk to him a little more in our panel discussion. But before we do, I'd like to bring on one of our two ISVs, or we call them ISVs, inventory service vendors. One of our vendors that has tested and utilized the API in live action with actual dealers. So I'm going to let our friends from Update Promise go ahead and tell us a little more.
My name is Rich Panazzo, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Update Promise. So Update Promise actually was created from within automotive collision repair centers. Our founder, Kurt Nixon, he's also our president and CEO, owned a body shop in El Monte. He and another owner were trying to solve a pain point of getting our advisors and our estimators to pick up the phone and update their customers, to let a customer know what's going on with their car. Because in a collision, obviously the car is there for several days. And so they figured if they could create a system that would take that out of the hands of the estimator advisor and automate it to keep the customer informed, our customer satisfaction scores would increase significantly. They were successful at creating update promise, meaning I would update you on the promise date of when your vehicle would be completed. In the very beginning of update promise, a small subset of collision repair shops that were using the product got the attention of a national insurance company who saw an uptick in their net promoter scores, and to the point where they came down and wanted to see the product in action, what it was doing. There was a customer who had complained about one of the shops. That national insurance company was going to remove the shop from their program based on this customer's complaint. And the location, because of Update Promise, was able to say, that's not the story. Here's all the trail of communication that took place to show otherwise. And they said, what's that and where did that come from? Well, that's our tool, Update Promise. So we've been doing payment processing in the dealer space for several years now. And then the question naturally evolved to, well, if you're processing and collecting that payment, you know when it was made and all the surrounding information, can you push that into my DMS so that my team doesn't have to double enter? If you just push it in there, take that out, you're going to make us more efficient. Customers can just come and pick up their keys, sign and go. So we started venturing on the distribution mission, and several DMSs allowed that. And we had lots of clients and some large enterprise clients really pushing for that. We were introduced to the Fortellis concept through several talks, several meetings and discovery process. We got the opportunity to go ahead and do the integration using the ePayLite, the platform that they make available to us to develop in is super user-friendly. So our team was able to complete the integration in record time. So we were able to launch, a couple of pilots fairly quickly because it was working so well. We're in the marketplace now, and every time we're signing on a CDK location on our solution, we're introducing them to the Fortellis distribution product. It was probably one of the best integration experiences we've had in that arena.
That was Rich from Update Promise. A great story there. If you're just joining us, welcome. I see we have over 70 people who have jumped in so far, and a quick shout out to some of my friends who are putting information out on the chat room. Matt, glad you're here. Jake, glad to see you too. Anyone from SoCal is always fun to talk to. We've got Sachin on board out of Texas. Roy's here also. So we've got a few other guys jumping on. Feel free to add those the chats as you like on the right side of your screen. And if you have any questions for our panelists, again, go ahead and add those down in the comments at the bottom. I want to call your attention directly below also to the description for our event. Inside there, you're going to see links to the two different companies that were featured today in our videos and who are currently offering products that utilize the e-payment solution. So if you're interested in either working with MyKarma or Update Promise, please click on the links below. When you do, you're going to be sent to a page on Fortellis Marketplace. There you'll actually see a contact form. Go ahead and contact that provider. And when you do, put in the promo code PAY2020. Each one of them have agreed to come up with a special promotion just for this event for you. So we encourage you to go ahead and click those links when the event is over and get involved, learn more about it, and see if these can be utilized to really help you and your dealership. We're going to move on to our second provider, the folks over at MyKarma. We actually have two people on this video. Isaac and Enimedex worked very close with me. We spent a lot of time just kind of shooting the breeze, putting the stuff together, and I wish there was more time to put more in, but I think you'll appreciate what they had to say. So we're going to go ahead and let them talk next.
I'm Animesh, and I am the head of engineering and R&D at MyKarma. MyKarma, like many other companies, was started to scratch the founder's itch. Pujnath, our CEO, and Gaurav Sharma, his partner in crime, had successfully transitioned out of a previous company, Syncada, where they were doing all kinds of consulting work for the automotive industry. Uj had a terrible experience during his vehicle service. He just ended up playing phone tag after dropping his car off at the dealer. And at the end of the ordeal, he basically came to Gaurav and said, hey man, this is ridiculous. We're like, we have Google Voice, we have all these technologies. Why can't we just text? Why can't we communicate in a much better fashion with our service advisors? They rapidly approached Steve Rogers, who was general manager of Volkswagen Pasadena and Alhambra, because they wanted to see what exactly is the business process that is followed by service advisors. And over time, they built this organization, and perhaps more importantly, built this product that we have heard time and again solves problems of, well, real people. Even more recently, we have seen how some of our dealers have been able to leverage our technology to be able to get their income back after COVID-19 and be able to hire their team members back.
I'm Isaac Kuchia, and I'm a product manager at MyKarma. MyKarma had already had their communication layer, and payments was the next problem to solve because it deals with the last experience that the customer has. The last experience they have is after they pay, and it's probably the last thing you will remember, and it will determine as well on how you score your visit and how you felt after laying down the foundation with text messaging and emailing and having one number. As long as dealerships wanted to take payments, MyKarma would make it work. And with that came online payments, so you could pay via text message and pay via email, and also checking out in person via a card present transaction.
The Fortellis introduction started off with the first dev day, which happened alongside an ADA. The CDK is really opening up and trying to find an ecosystem where developers can play together and have this whole notion of a marketplace where they can discover services and connect with them. And it was a good experience going to the dev day. That started the conversations with multiple stakeholders. I remember at the New York dev day,
I stayed back at the office, but I was very much involved and aware of what happened that day, that you could light up one of our credit card readers from CDK Drive Flex.
Through Fortellis, launching a physical device to light up and take your money through this cloud-hosted engine was very impressive.
And it took a payment, and it actually worked.
It is extremely heartening to see a positive ecosystem taking shape. Having been to these dev days and hackathons and having seen other individuals come in and play in the same sandbox is very heartening. I look forward to the next couple of years to see how this grows.
Welcome back. It's been a great experience so far. Again, we've had over 70 people join, and a big shout out to the guys over at Mobile Dealer for joining the call. Any questions, again, feel free to add them into the comments at the bottom of this page or over in the chat. We'll do our best to try to answer all those comments and all those questions as we go through the event. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears now, and we're going to bring our panel on. So with us today, we have folks from Update Promise, from MyKarma, and from CDK. And let's go ahead and bring them on the screen here for us. So joining us here on the call, we have Mark from CDK. Give a shout out, Mark. Go ahead and say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Excellent. We have Richard and Kurt from Update Promise.
Morning. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
And lastly, we have Animesh and Isaac from MyKarma.
Hey, everybody.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Excellent. As we're watching the questions come in, I'm going to throw a couple out that I had right away. So the first question I actually wanted to throw out there was to ask a little more just about the experience of working with the Fortellis team as you began to try to figure out that beta process from the beginning. You knew you were selected. Then from there, you had to go through a process of selecting a dealer and ultimately testing that out. Could one of the folks from Update Promise, I'll let you guys choose which one speaks up here, give a little bit of background on what that experience was like once you were selected?
I think I'll step in on that, Brian, just to start, but then I'll let Rich chime in just a tad. Picking the location was really important. We had to have a location that we had worked with really close, that was local, make sure that we could really dive deep into the needs as well as how things were functioning. So we have select locations for each of our DMSs that are fairly local. We consider them our beta stores, and they'll work real closely with us to help us to execute at the highest level and really see success. They'll be very candid as well, which is good, right? They'll beat you up as much as possible. That's a positive thing. Get real-time feedback. Tell us what's working, what's not working. Now, I will say, and Rich will chime in on this, it was tough to find a lot of problems because it just really went smooth. Mark and his team set up a good process in setting the expectation and walk through it. And Rich, I'll let you chime in a little bit more on that.
Yeah, no, it was probably one of the smoothest integrations we did. During the pilot phase, we had feet on the street in the store, as Kurt alluded to, and Mark was, very available and would connect us with the proper resource on the Fortellis side. And any little hurdles or bumps we ran into, they were resolved pretty quickly. It was awesome.
Excellent. Who wants to take this from the MyKarma side?
I'll start, Brian, and then Isaac will continue. So at MyKarma, we follow the Toyota Production System, the TPS philosophies very closely. And one of the core pieces over there is something called Genchi Genbutsu. You have to go and see for yourself what happens with your customers. As a result, much like our friends at Pay Promise, we have a couple stores with whom we work very closely. Shout out to our good friends at MB of Long Beach, who are literally our next door neighbors. So we do walk in there regularly. And I remember early on, they were one of the first ones to have complained about this whole settling thing. Our core idea is you shouldn't have to do work to do work. And a lack of payment settling was literally them doing double entry, because in MyKarma, they would get online payments or retail payments. And then they would do a double entry in the system. And when we got the opportunity to integrate, was literally them doing double entry. I was like, okay, we will go to MB of Long Beach and we'll observe them doing this double entry to understand exactly which screen in CDK they are going in and exactly how pain is. And I remember having very good conversations with our peers. Big shout out, of course, to Mark and Sudipta and the crew, but then also to the Fortellis crew, Tony Parenti, Ash, Leanne, Lata, the whole crew at large who have just been so helpful to us in the integrations. We were involved since the very, very early days. There were a couple tech things where we required help, and we got shared screen tech support. And Tony was on my screen helping me figure out the YAML file and stuff. It was very impressive. But Isaac.
Yeah, so being that our neighbor Mercedes-Benz of Long Beach was our one of our alphas, whenever we do an alpha, it means that the product manager is in charge of making sure it goes well and finding out bugs and improvements. So I was involved in one of those. It was a funny story, actually. And as always, I'm just going to say this, of course, between Mark, Sudipta, Brian as well, all throughout the process, making sure that questions were answered and things got done. But so Steve calls me up from Long Beach and says, Isaac, we're having some issues with some of these payments. Can you stop by to check it out? That day, my fiance had the car, so I had to take the train down to our headquarters in Long Beach, like I always do. But from the train to MB of Long Beach is, little trek. So I brought my bike and got off at the closest station, biked over to the dealership, locked my bike. Steve was there. He's like, wow, Isaac, you brought your bike. Yes, I did. So walked in, said hello, found out what was going on, spoke to the advisors, checked in on some other items as well, because why not? And got that done. And Steve was very kind enough to offer me a ride back to the office, but I said, no, I think I'll tackle the hill. They're in Signal Hill. So it just speaks to, you got to do what you got to do and make sure that our customers are tended to the right way.
So you heard it here first, folks. MyKarma now offers green in-person service where they'll come out on their bike to take care of you.
I'll have a credit card reader on me too, in case I'm going to take a payment.
There you go. As long as we run through e-payments, we're all going to be fine. That's fantastic. It looks like we've already got a couple people liking that idea too on the chat. So you might be doing a lot of biking in the near future, Isaac. So I'm going to shift gears and ask a little more for feedback, actually, on the dealer side. So think about some of those stories, but I'd also wouldn't mind hearing Mark's side of the coin. That you're relatively new to CDK. It was a new opportunity to work with each of these vendors. Tell me a little bit about how that went from your side.
Yeah, as I said in my kind of introductory video, it's been a very positive experience working with both MyKarma and Update Promise. working with the Fortellis team. It's a joy to work with people who are leading edge, very knowledgeable, like I said, very, very tech savvy. And, with anything new, you're going to have a few bumps along the road, issues, but the things we ran into were relatively small. We collaborated actually throughout the process of developing the integration, testing it, and proving out that that was going to meet the dealer's needs. So whatever we found, we took care of in really short order, and in the end, it's been I think a very good experience for us, for CDK, for Fortellis, and ultimately for the dealers.
Yeah, definitely. And, for me, I've spent about 25 years or so in this industry and watched a lot of growth. And you see companies come, you see companies go, but the ones that really get it seem to have an interesting heart about them. One of the interview points that really didn't get talk about in the interview video cuts that we did was, I think, kind of a neat story that Kurt had, talking about kind of how things started a little bit with his son. Can you share that with us if you don't mind?
Sure. So I'm blessed enough to work with my family. My youngest son, Brandon, who leads our national sales team, back in 2009, he was starting high school, and his buddy and he were going to be taking a guitar class. And there's a neat guitar shop out in Riverside, and I wanted to take them to it and let them see it, kind of get them enthusiastic about the experience they were going to have going into high school. So we went out there, and of course, being young, ambitious kids, they saw the top shelf guitar, which was way out of anyone's range. But, we're an entrepreneurial family, so anything's possible. And so we went to lunch afterwards, and I challenged them to come up with a business idea to get their own guitar. I wasn't going to buy it for them. And so Brandon and his buddy Jake started, asking me questions and talking about it, and they came up with an idea, which was one of our original apps, Auto Accident Kit, which was a self-service claims application for body shops. Our family was in the collision repair industry, 3 generations, and so they thought, you know what, we've got these new smartphones. Why can't we create an app? And they did. They brought it to me, and I challenged them and said, okay, I see a business idea here. If I invest in it and take it to the next level, you guys have to do me a favor and keep encouraging me to execute throughout the year. So they were starting their year in high school, and our agreement was every time that we lost sight of each other eye to eye and came back, whether it was an hour, a day, a month that we hadn't seen each other, the first thing they said to me was, an idea is just a dream until I make it reality. And that really became the slogan of Update Promise. And they did it. And today they both have guitars, and we're still going strong from that original idea. So, family business is important. Rich and I have known each other for 15 plus years, and we have a lot of family that works for us. So I think that connection of who we are and what we do and persistence of executing is just built into our DNA.
It's fantastic. And so years have gone by now. We've all tried different pieces. We've all built our own solutions, and then suddenly we both find us converging together with that same need on the payment side of it, which is how it's kind of neat how it's brought all of us together. I put out a survey question on LinkedIn when we launched the InVent, asking how many people how they would prefer to make a payment the next time they were in the service center. I asked whether they would rather have it as an email link or a text link. And it looks like about 55% preferred having it via an SMS or text versus email. I'm sure if we'd have done that same survey 3 years ago, it would have been totally email. But it's amazing how things have evolved and changed. And surely things will evolve and change more as time goes on. And with us working together with that entrepreneurial spirit and being able to use a flexible tool like Fortellis will allow us to continue to evolve as those situations change. Feedback as far as pilot dealers are concerned. So I'm going to throw this over at Rich, because I think you worked you got some feedback directly from your pilot dealer. What was the reaction once they were able to actually do those payments through the system?
Yeah, it's a great question. So once we settled out some of those initial, bugs and hurdles, right, and the system was working smooth, the Advisors were quite pleased with the fact that customers could come in, sign up some final paperwork, and leave and not have to deal with the payment experience. Those who took advantage of the mobile piece. And then those who didn't, we have a device right on their counter where they're able to push the payment over to the device, capture the payment, and we distribute it back. And so that eliminated the double and triple entry, right? So we saw about a 10 to 15% gain on efficiency at the counter there. And at one of the locations, they were able to repurpose a cashier to do warranty processing. So that person was doing some more value-added tasks. And the controllers loved it because of the reconciliation down to the RO level, service advisor assigned to the ticket cashier or person who took the payment, as well as being able to trend out payment timing, right? So it's not just when are you busiest in the drive, when are you taking the most money. So we have some analytics behind it. So all of that combined, the dealer saw it as a total payment solution and not just a mobile payment tool. And that wouldn't be possible without that distribution back into CDK. So I'd say, overall, they're very happy.
Cool. Isaac and Manish, on your side, who wants to pick up on that?
I'm going to say Isaac.
Yeah. So what we saw was our customers all across the board, from the advisors to managers, accounting, all felt some sort of, not felt, but they actually they got time back. They were more comfortable with the job that they were doing. From the advisors, kind of to what Rich said, the double entry, triple entry, saving them about 5 to 6 clicks in order to close an RO in case they actually do it. It saved the manager time because there's less chance of any error. Things just were flowing the way they should. If payment is taken, payment reflects, and everyone is happy. And then accounting was like, "Hey, this is good. This is just keep it coming." And they could now. I think we shaved about. She was saying about 2 hours to her job per day. And so between saving time and making people more comfortable and just happy with what they are doing, it's like at the end of the day, everyone wins. And that was really the part that really made us, pretty good about it.
Brian, I do want to emphasize the fact that at the dealerships, traditionally DMSs are seen to be these old systems that more often than not prevent them from being able to achieve their goals and things of that nature. And the dealerships are acutely aware of the lack of integrations where they want integrations between other software like MyKarma and the DMS in certain ways. And this is an extremely good intro to the dealer to say, hey, things are changing. In this case, CDK is much more open to integrations in these very standard fashions, and their other software will be able to talk more and more with the DMS and help reduce drudgery and improve the value of the work.
That's great. Yeah, I got a question that came in from Sachin. He was asking, have either of you seen, what kind of uptick have you seen in remote payment demand in the last couple of months in this new COVID world that we live in? Who wants to take
Isaac, I think this is definitely for you and your contactless service stuff.
Oh yeah, between absolutely a rise in online payments. Same to your survey question, Brian. Giving the customer the ease of paying from their home. They could even have their car dropped off to them, so they don't even have to go. So it's paying. We'll send them a text, send them an email. So online payments through MyKarma's online payment page has grown a lot in the past 2 months, actually 3 months. The month of April, May, and so far June as well. Retail payments, those in person, are still going, still steady. Contactless payments have absolutely gone up. People prefer to tap their phone or their card.
And Brian, to answer Sachin's question, there is a new pattern that we have seen happen. This is most recently in the mobile service campaign being launched by certain OEMs, where it is payment made by the customer at their home, but to the tech's contactless payment device, because the tech is at their home fixing their car for simple service. So it's an interesting scope where it is back to retail payments, if you will. There's a physical device, but it's contactless at your own home.
Wow, that's great. As someone who's observed the industry over the years, I know that there's been several instances in the last few years. Around 2001, after 9/11, there was a big movement towards websites in general. 2008, there was a big focus pushback over onto the fixed operations side of the world. And now we're seeing this new third wave, if you will, that is really driving. The technology is helping to kind of catch up with the demand that suddenly happened. And it seems like the industry is getting pulled forward. What we would normally have seen happen in 2 or 3 years is happening in months. The adoption is happening because customers want it and dealers need to adopt.
It was during the whole COVID situation, the initial launch, we actually gave away the product for several months to dealerships, and that was one of the big things they wanted to jump on is the contactless and mobile. To Amish's and Isaac's point, even to the point that our OEM partners were asking for direct data on percent of payments made mobile versus desktop, et cetera, and kind of those dollar amounts. So they're even doing their own analytics, and so we're seeing the OEM level pushing the virtual and the contactless and the mobile now, even at their level.
Excellent. Well, hey guys, we're at time. I'm going to wrap this, but I'm going to give anyone here a chance to make a final shout out if they want to before we log off.
Big shout out to the Fortellis team. Having talked to a lot of them, I know this is a tall order, what you guys are trying to achieve to make a nice service-oriented system with discovery and all that good stuff. It's technically difficult. It's difficult on the business side. But I have watched the team and the artifacts closely over the past, 2 years almost now.
It's great. Kurt?
It's very...
Yeah, I'll add on top. On top of what he's stating there is workability and the new ideas and the embracing the new ideas. We're excited with all the things that we're doing with Fortellis. There's a lot of other opportunities that Rich and his team are working on. The other thing that I want to mention here is how refreshing it is to have organizations like Update Promise ourselves and My Karma in the industry. Because when we look at the vision of changing the industry, it's two organizations like this that are so ambitious, so aggressive, and workable. Because it's not easy, right? It's a lot. It's expensive to do. It takes a lot of changing of mindsets. I think we both got an opportunity with the unfortunate crisis that we're all going through. It provided a change in mindset that both of us are able to benefit on. So my hats are off to the Fortellis team, to the My Karma team, Rich, and his team with Update Promise, and it's exciting things. We're seeing a digital change in the service world.
Excellent. Mark, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I was going to add and maybe echo Animesh's comment earlier about, it's really about CDK's move towards becoming a more open platform. And it's really exciting working with companies like My Karma and Update Promise to solve real world business problems, that add value to dealers. So,
excellent. Well, guys, we're going to close this out. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. In closing, I just want to again thank everybody for being part of this live event. We couldn't do it without you. We look forward to seeing you in the future. Feel free to subscribe over on the side to get notifications for the next InVent as it becomes available. We'll also be posting that on LinkedIn. Your feedback, I know we had some questions come in towards the end there. Any questions that are put in, we'll make sure we respond back to you as soon as we can. And thanks again for viewing, and stay safe and happy selling.